So I'm here with Kristen, and Kristen, how long have you been with the DWCC? How did you find your way here?
I think it's been since about August, and initially I was introduced to Bob by a mutual friend of ours through the Finding Freedom program,
Hmm,
and it just went from there.
Gotcha. And then you started jumping in and joining the morning scripture shortly thereafter.
Shortly thereafter,
Yeah.
yes.
And I remember early on in the morning scripture time, you would talk about how this was such a different way of reading scripture. So, like, what was your past experience of reading the Bible before that?
I had attended church at different periods in my life, so there would be some periods of teaching. Other than that, reading it on my own, there was a lot of things that I misinterpreted or took out of context, I'd later come to find. Um, and as much as there were certainly beautiful things that move me, there are a lot of things that without a background or some of the understanding that I've gotten through our gatherings in the morning, um, there was a lot that was lost for me or misinterpreted. So yeah, just did my best to muddle through and sometimes read things very literally, sometimes not kind of understanding what was going on at the time, and just trying to make of it what I could.
Hmm. Yeah, there's so many like different genres and types of ways to read it. So just for those who are watching and aren't in the loop on necessarily what we do, so in the morning we read scriptures at 8 o'clock in the morning for about a half an hour as a group. Um, and so yeah, I think you started to allude to it a little bit, but how has like reading in a group setting changed the way that you understand it or interpret it or apply it?
I love the small groups where I can, it's different from the churches where you just kind of get the teaching and the one perspective on that teaching, as sound as it may be. I like that we can hear different voices and we can ask specific questions if there's something that isn't clear, and not just try and make sense of it by our best guess. Um, I love that I have that option, and it is a really comfortable, close environment where it feels comfortable to be able to ask those things. And if you don't know, it isn't something that you need to feel shy about or feel alone in. And everyone has that same comfort level I've found in asking those questions. And
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there are so many different uh, voices and different types of voices in the morning, and sometimes we get off on funny rabbit trails, but often we're just surprised by the thread running through the morning. So each morning we tend to read like one psalm, a group of proverbs, some reading a story from the gospel, and then like a section on from an epistle from one of the letters. And kind of Bob's rationale for this is the Psalms teach us how to pray. The Proverbs teach us like our ethic, how we should make decisions. The Gospels where we see Jesus and how he responds, and then the epistles how we love one another. And so I'm just curious: is there a week to or morning to morning? Is there one of them that's like kind of your favorite of the four? Like, um,
I'd say probably the epistles, although with the gospels, I do. There are certain parts of it that are beautiful and moving, and the beatitudes, when we did the lesson on that, I really love that and how we could apply that in our day-to-day lives. With the epistles, I find for me, within that there's a lot of like really clear instruction manuals, and I like that a lot.
Mhm.
Um, Again, one thing with Proverbs that used to be really scary for me to read when I would just read it on my own. And with being able to ask those questions and have a different understanding and hear the different voices and the different perspectives, it's a much um, easier thing to read. Sometimes it had just felt harsh before I was able to kind of bring forth some of my questions. So, um, yeah, I mean, they're all we get beautiful things out of each one. I'd say if I had to pick one, the epistles.
So you often are, maybe not often, but sometimes you're literally en route. You're driving, and partaking, listening to the scriptures. Sometimes you're with us on Zoom in a more present, reading along way. But do you notice the difference between the days that you start your day with this rhythm and then days that you don't? Like, is there, how does this rhythm, this practice, set the tone for your day?
I love doing the morning scripture. That's my favorite time of the day. And even when looking for a new position, making sure that my start times could accommodate that. Right? It's something really important to me, and it's like with any relationship. When you want to get close, you want to get to know that person and understand that person. And the morning scripture helps me to do that in my relationship with God. It gives me better understanding. It gives me something to meditate on. It gives me, insight on how I can apply that day to day in my life. And I know that's something that's important for all of us. And it just keeps that connection. I remember when I'd go to church on Sundays and just that amazing feeling when you left, after you'd learn something more, had a better understanding, and be able to have that every day and to start your day before you go out there, before you get into the busyness of day to day life, to just kind of have that grounding and that reminder. It's a gift for sure.
Well, I know we have been blessed by your involvement, your presence, both at React and in the soulful practices. So, thanks for taking some time out of your day to share. And yeah, thanks for this, for being
Thank,
involved, Kristen.
yeah. Thank you so much.